I'm going to call to order the State of Rhode Island Coastal Resources Management Council to order. Today is Tuesday, April 22, 2025. This is our semi-monthly meeting. I would ask that the record reflect the council members that are present this evening, as well as the staff that are here as well. First matter on our agenda will be approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, that being April 8, 2025. I know they were disseminated. If there are any changes, I would ask for them now. If not, I'd entertain a motion to accept them as presented.
Motion to accept.
Motion's been made to accept the minutes as presented. Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That motion carries. Subcommittee reports, Director Willis.
There are no subcommittee reports tonight, Mr. Chair.
All right, staff reports, Director Willis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple items to talk to the council members about. As you'll see on the agenda, we have another agenda item to confirm another member to the Fishermen's Advisory Board. I think I explained at the last meeting how we had went out to notice and we gotten a number of interested parties that we vetted and we brought to your attention. And we have this basically open enrollment, if you will, because we continually get emails and phone calls about folks who want to be on what we call the FAB, the Fishermen's Advisory Board. So that's what you see on your agenda tonight. We also have another person that we'll bring to the first May meeting because we've been reached out by the Saltwater Anglers Association who wants to have a member represented to the FAB from there. We'll bring that person's name to you at the May meeting. You also got email from me. I forwarded to you our NOAA evaluation, what's called the Section 312 Performance Evaluation. As you probably have read, it's a very good report for the council. The council, the agency, the staff, all of us collectively have done a lot of hard work over the last 5 years, and it was highly recognized by NOAA. So if you have any questions on that, I'm happy to answer them. There are, of course, areas for improvement. There always are. And we will work with you all, staff and the administration to move those forward and get those accomplished before the next 5-year evaluation. Last week, staff and I attended a emergency management exercise, basically a response exercise on what to do after a hurricane, post-hurricane response. And it was held by the Emergency Management Agency, REMA. We had a number of different agencies of state involved, as well as towns and contractors who would be involved. And basically, this was a debris exercise. What would you do with the debris? So that was highly successful, something that we do as an agency. And matter of fact, hurricane season starts June 1. Laura and I will be pulling staff together in the month of May and going over what does staff need to do as a hurricane comes up the coast so that we are prepared should Rhode Island get hit with a hurricane. And then lastly, you all have been involved very intimately with offshore wind projects. We bring them up here, we talk about them and some of the issues that are very difficult to address. One of them was when cables are being laid, the equipment that basically puts a trench in the ocean floor finds large rock boulders and pushes them off to the side. That creates new hangs for some of the fishermen that are draggers primarily, where there weren't hangs before, that their nets would get caught up on as they drag. So we have been pushing the issue of when that happens, when it's called a jet plow comes through and pushes these rock and boulders off to the side, why doesn't the developer gather them and create one pile of rock rather than several new hangs along the cable route? Our university partners down at the Bay campus have picked up on that and are putting together a half-day workshop with the fishing community to get a better understanding of how that can be accomplished so that they can continue to do their work moving forward, even in the fact that these wind farms are being constructed right now. So that's something to look forward to. We can report on that as that moves forward. Those are my updates, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any questions of Director Willis from the council members? All right, thank you. Next matter on the agenda is confirmation of the Fishermen's Advisory Board members. I know you referenced it. I'm not sure if you said specifically the gentleman's name.
I did not, Mr.
Okay.
Chair. We have a new FAB member that came to us at about the same time as the meeting we had last up here. But it was not, there was not enough time to put his name on that agenda. So we have talked to him as staff. We've had several conversations with him. His name is Earle Berg. We have the background information should be in your agenda package. And we're just asking you to confirm him so that he can become a ratified member of the FAB.
Any questions of Director Willis on that? All right, I will entertain a motion to seat Earle Berg as a member of the Fishermen's Advisory Board.
Move that they accept Earle Berg as a member of the Fishermen's Advisory Board.
A motion has been made by Mr. Gagnon. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Izzy as well as Mr. Russolino. Any discussion? Here none, I'll poll the council. Mr. Flynn,
Aye.
Mr. Izzy,
Aye.
Mr. Russolino,
Aye.
Dr. Ruder,
Aye.
Mr. Gagnon.
Aye.
I too, Raymond Coyle, vote aye. So Earle Berg is seated unanimously. We have two applications down this evening. We are taking them out of order. The first one we're going to hear is an enforcement matter before the council, which is 23-0047 EDON Realty LLC. It's down for further consideration of alleged violations regarding unauthorized earthwork, filling, removing, and grading on a coastal feature, construction of a riprap retaining wall on a coastal feature, construction of timber structures on a coastal feature, and cutting of natural buffer zone vegetation, and a request for an order to restore. If proven, these activities constitute a violation of the Redbook 650-RICR-20-00-1, specifically CRMP sections 1.1.11 and sections 1.3.1C and section 1.3.1G, located at plat 369, lot 108, 605 Budlong Farm Road in Warwick, Rhode Island. Attorney Shikachi is here on behalf of the applicant. And Brian, you have this one for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This matter was heard before the council on February 11th, 2025. And at this hearing, the council directed staff to review and respond to a letter that had been submitted by Joe Caselli, Engineering. We responded and said that we couldn't support what was proposed, but we could support bringing the site into conformance through activities that had been proposed in CRMC application A2020808058 in the submitted plan. Last revised 1/26/2023. And the council directed that following CRMC staff's response to Caselli Engineering's letter, EDON Realty was to return an acceptable plan as soon as possible and well before 60 days. To date, CRMC staff has not received any communication from EDON Realty LLC or their attorney. Since the report went in, I have spoken to Mary Shikachi about it.
Okay. Any questions of Brian from the council members? Good evening, Attorney Shikachi. How are you?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, members of the council. Brian is correct. We had that order that came out and we did receive a response. The order was to review Mr. Caselli's plan that was submitted, I think about a week before that hearing. Staff did respond in a letter dated February 28th, I believe, yes. And we received it basically stating that they could support the previous application that was submitted. We had difficulty reaching out to the applicant. We spent many weeks trying to get in touch with the representative for ODI via many forms of communication, and it was unsuccessful. Fortunately, after a lot of legwork, we did manage to reach out to his son. Apparently, they've been out of the country, somewhere in the Far East, so we couldn't communicate with them in regard to the response from CRMC. as recent as last week, and I did relate this to, Brian, this week, we did have an opportunity to speak with someone who is representing the LLC and has, committed and communicated to us that they are prepared to proceed with the recommendation of the staff to, submit an application that is in line with the previous application submitted. We then, reached out to Mr. Casali to help put that together. He also reached out, Joe will explain in detail, what he has done, but we also reached out to the neighbor who was represented by Chris DeVideo, whom I've also spoke with as recently as today. We are trying to coordinate, our application to assist with their application, I understand, or their, restoration plan, and also trying to basically do the, what we'll call deconstruction of the current wall, in concert, because they're intertwined and there's some question of overlap onto each other's property, and also then do the construction in a simultaneous method. So that's where we're at. We were seeking, I think, 45 days, we can get that plan in. We're trying to schedule a meeting with the neighbor's engineer, and I'm gonna just ask Mr. Casali, who is the engineer, to kind of give you an update of that, if that's okay.
Mr. Casali, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth will help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Joe Casali, Casali, registered professional engineer, 300 Post Road in Warwick. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. As Attorney Shikachi said, we're in the process of getting in touch and coordinating with the neighbor's engineer so we can have one congruent plan submitted back to coastal, ultimately for remediation and to replace the wall that exists and rebuild as originally filed back in January of 2023.
Okay. Any questions of the council, of the engineer or Attorney Shikachi?
Who's the engineer for the abutter?
Tom Nichols, senior engineer.
Attorney DeSisto, would you like to shed some guidance?
This matter was continued from the February meeting. And my recommendation to the board is to enter the order to restore. However, stay entry and enforcement for the 45 days to allow for the applicant to make this coordination and present the restoration order. The reason I suggest this is because if after 45 days it still doesn't happen, the order would become effective at that date. If the applicant gets it in ahead of time, staff can take a look at it. I think it accomplishes the goals of the council.
Yes, Mr. Flynn.
Was this the same contractor that was involved in the abutting property?
Yes, yes, it is.
Which also had two cease and desist orders that the contractor ignored?
I'm not aware of that. I wasn't.
This one
involved.
had two cease and desist orders.
This case did. Yeah, I know there was this one. I don't know if there were two.
Ryan, do you know that?
There was one cease and desist order issued to ODI Realty, but there was two fines.
Okay,
And the neighbor got one cease and desist order.
and so that's the neighbor you're trying to coordinate with?
Yes.
There's also two other
That's my
properties along the
understanding.
stretch of
That's further-
coast that are not part of
Correct.
what you're trying to accomplish.
Yes. I do believe that our immediate abutting neighbor has made some contact. His abutting neighbor saw him down.
And is the staff taking any action against the contractor?
We haven't yet.
Is that being contemplated?
We've considered it, but we haven't issued anything to the contractor.
We do have the ability to go after the contractor in an enforcement matter. That's correct.
Okay. What would be the reasons not to do that?
I'd have to defer to enforcement
In this
staff.
situation, we've already issued violations to the property owners. We've been in contact with them and they've been working to resolve it.
Right, but so that's part of the problem, obviously. But a contractor who willingly ignores cease and desist orders is another part of the problem, it would seem to me. So even if a property owner said to a contractor, no, I want you to do it, knowing that it's in violation of the rules, contractor is free to say, I'm not gonna do it. And that didn't happen, obviously, on 2 occasions, 2 different properties.
But at the same time, yes.
Yes, okay. All right,
Ultimate liability is with the property owner.
right,
I understand that there's a separate cause of action that the property owner may have because of the negligence of the contractor. But that's not, from an enforcement standpoint, it goes to the property owner.
Any further questions? Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. Is the council in a position to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we enter an enforcement order against ODI LLC, stay any imposition of any fines and continue this matter for 45 days to allow the staff to review any additional submissions that the applicant is going to make for the remediation of the violation.
So that the order, the effect of the order would be stayed for 45 days. If there's no compliance, then it'd be entry.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mr. Gagnon. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll poll the council. Mr. Flynn?
Aye.
Mr. Izzy?
Aye.
Mr. Russolino?
Aye.
Dr. Ruder?
Aye.
Mr. Gagnon?
Aye.
I too, Raymond Coy, vote aye. The motion passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next matter is 2024-04-075. It's an application which has been out to notice and are before the council for review and action. It's in the name of EDON Realty Trust. It's an application to construct and maintain a residential boating facility consisting of a 4-foot by 100-foot fixed pier to a 20-foot ramp, 28-foot ramp to an 8-foot by 18.75 foot float extending to 72.5 feet beyond mean low water, therefore requesting a variance under 1.3.1 D.6.F parentheses 3 of the Redbook, which is required. The standard is 50 foot under 1.3.1 D.11 parentheses 1. A second variance is required since the facility will be located across a property line extension under 1.3.1.11 K of the Redbook 650-RICR-20-00-1, when the standard is a 25-foot setback from the property line extension, located at plat 89, lot 101, lot 110 at 353 Earle Drive, North Kingston, Rhode Island. And the applicant may come forward, please. Evening, Attorney Craven.
Welcome, Mr. Anderson.
Welcome, Ms. Anderson.
Chairman, Councilman.
Mr. Anderson, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Ken Anderson, Anderson.
Thank you. And Amy, you have this one for us?
Yes,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Mr. Chair. As noted by the chair, this application is for a residential boating facility located on type 2 waters of North Kingstown. The water body is the Narragansett Bay West Passage. The facility is a 4-foot by 130-foot total length, which will extend to 72.5 feet beyond mean low water. This extension in length is due to CRMC's minimal water depth standard of a minimum of 18 inches of water. To reach this minimal water depth, the facility needs a 22.5-foot variance to our 50-foot beyond mean low water standard. The dock needs a second variance to the property line extension side setback standard of 25 feet away from the extended property line. The side setback concern can be addressed in 2 ways. It can be addressed by a letter of no objection from the affected property owner, which would not require a variance, the property owner signed off on it, or the variance request with a professional land surveyor plat survey of the lot. There is no letter from the affected abutter, so the applicant has submitted the required written variance request as well as the PLS survey of the plot. Many objections were received during the public notice period, including one from the town of North Kingstown Town Council. Most of the objectors are from members of the nearby beach club. Several of the beach club members have noted that the dock crosses the property line extension into their lot extension to the west. As I explained in the staff report, this appears to be a misreading of the submitted plans, which are admittedly slightly confusing. As shown in the staff report, edited plan image, which removed some extraneous notes to clarify the property line extensions. The true abutter to this lot is Earle Drive or the town of North Kingstown. The remaining concerns from the public notice period primarily relate to the concern for user conflict with the nearby beach for boating, shellfishing, swimming, recreational craft use, etc. The objections have all been addressed in the staff report, and while concerns for user conflict are valid, docks are an acceptable and permittable use in type 2 waters. It is appropriately situated more than 50 feet from the nearby mooring field. And in staff's opinion, the intrusion over the property line is minimal. Paul, it's approximately 42 feet. Staff has reviewed the submitted objections against the section 1.1.6G substantive objection criteria. And it is staff's reviewing opinion that the objections do not rise to the criteria of a substantive objection. Staff believes that the applicant has met the burdens of proof for both of the variances that have been requested. And should the council determine that the objections are not substantive and concurs with staff regarding the variances, staff has no objection to the approval of this application. Standard dock stipulations will be prepared.
Okay. Any questions of Amy from the council at this point? Hearing none. Attorney Craven, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Robert Craven. I practice law at 7405 Post Road in North Kingstown. I'm here representing the applicant, and with me is someone that you know from his former employment, Mr. Anderson. I would like to explain to you that Warren Hall is the engineer that drew the plans and submitted the application. Warren has decided to retire from the practice. And so Mr. Anderson was kind enough to come forward and to be the expert witness to explain any concerns we may have about any of these proceedings from the perspective and the rights of the applicant. With that, I can tell you that I reviewed the staff report. I have no objections to surprisingly, to the findings that they made. I think it's appropriate, but more importantly, it's consistent with the law. And if it's consistent with the law, that's what is supposed to happen administratively before this board. However, do you wanna mention anything about your role and what you did?
I'm sorry.
It's up to you.
No.
Okay. Best cross-examination I ever did in my life. So, with that, I concur with the report and I rest on the recommendations of the report as being what I would hope that the board would do after hearing from the objectors. And I'll answer any questions.
Right, any questions of Attorney Craven or Mr. Anderson from the council at this time?
Scott,
Mr. Gagnon?
do you know how many boats or what size boats are gonna be at the dock? I mean, they're gonna be used there, just one single boat, or are they gonna have more?
I think it's for one residence. So it would be one boat and maybe an occasional visitor, but it's a one boat dock.
About what size?
Size?
I don't have it yet.
Oh,
I have a small boat right now.
a small boat.
I'm sorry, your name is? John Lindsay.
He's the applicant. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Flynn?
Given the 18-inch requirement, it's very shallow waters in this part of the bay. How many hours during the day will this dock be usable?
Chairman, as you know, the dock is designed to go out to the minimum water depth required by the program, 18 inches, which will be at the minimum water depth available at any time. So any boat that's, you know, chosen or owned by Ms. Jose will, you know, draft appropriately to function at the flow.
Yeah, that wasn't my question. My question was how many hours at around high tide in order to get that 18 inches would the end of the dock be usable?
Well, at high tide, there'll be more water at the end of the dock. There's 18 inches of water at low tide.
So you don't have any answer to that question. If you
I
don't,
don't
that's fine.
understand your question.
Well, okay, so many times of the day, when the water is too low, the end of the dock will not be useful. Are you saying that at all times of the day, regardless of the tide, you'll get 18 inches?
Yes, the dock is designed to extend out to where the
So
water
maybe
is.
at low tide, there'd at least be 18 inches in Amy's.
That's correct.
Okay. I have a couple other questions, maybe for Amy or.
Sure.
Save the Bay comment was about lateral access. Did they misread the plans or not understand the plans? They weren't talking about the dock per se, but they were talking about lateral access.
Correct. I did respond to Save the Bay, asking them basically that same question, and they said that they were encouraging us to ensure at least that and would like us to even consider more than that for lateral access.
In my packet, this may have been something submitted by an objector. On page 101, it was a map that shows the dock extending into something referred to as a navigation corridor. You familiar with that?
Not immediately.
I can give it to you.
No, but Laura just passed it to me, so I can bring it. That is the previous location of the dock. So this is from the original submission in 2024. So the owner owns an empty lot, an undeveloped lot on the west side of Earle Drive, as well as the house on the east side of Earle Drive. The application had originally come in February of 2024 for the dock on the undeveloped lot over here. We did receive several objections for this design, and staff also did not support this design and recommended that they relocate the facility to the west side of Earle Drive, where you'll see, there's an aerial photo in my report that shows they've relocated the dock to the west side.
Okay.
So this is, an out of date based on the previous.
I can understand why this would be confusing, because we get this
Yes.
without having full knowledge of, other than the aerial photographs of the location.
Yes, I did mention the travel of the application in the very beginning of the report, but to minimize confusion, I only briefly mentioned it. And then all of the objections going back from the original iteration were included in the packet.
So the shape of the parcel is somewhat problematic in that it creates when you take your property lines out into the water, you get like a pie shaped.
The shape of the parcel as well as the shape of the shoreline.
Right.
It's a common occurrence in coves.
But it does look like the dock itself sort of extends into the area in front of the town property. Is that accurate? Or how many feet
I
approximately?
believe it was, if I tried to measure it to the best of my ability, I got about 42 feet, maybe less than that.
And is Earle Drive itself the beach?
From what I can tell,
That's what it
looking
looks like.
at the town plat maps and the GIS, it appears that a large chunk of Earle Drive is the beach. Maybe not the entire thing, but a large chunk of it.
So the town is certainly within its rights to object because it is in front of their property, arguably.
Correct. We have identified the town as the affected butter, and they chose not to submit the letter of no objection.
In fact, they submitted a letter of objection.
Correct. And their letter of objection reflected many of the concerns from the members of the beach club regarding use conflicts.
And it is a private beach.
Yes.
It is undetermined. There
It's
is,
a public right of way and a private beach.
I don't know the answer to that. The beach club owns a lot on the west side of Earle Drive. If you look at the color coded image in my report, the beach club owns a lot on the west side of Earle Drive, and then Earle Drive continues southward, where the majority of it is in fact the beach, which in my opinion would be public because it's owned by the town. And then the beach club further south, which doesn't quite make it onto my image in my report, owns a second sort of triangle lot that is a beach lot. It is my understanding, however, that the beach club utilizes the whole stretch as well as possibly the general public.
Yeah, this is, right.
You can see
Yeah,
it.
you can see it on the map. Which is on the other side.
That is one of the two lots that's owned by the beach club. They own a second lot farther down at what is essentially the other end of the beach before the next part of the houses begin.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions at this time?
Originally, I think the idea was to build one dock for the two lots that were in common ownership. Did I get that right?
Originally,
Yes.
the two lots, and you can see it on page 5 of the agenda packet. I have the two houses highlighted in orange. Those two lots were in common ownership. And they had come in with two individual applications. One for the dock on the west side of Earle Drive that we've already discussed. And then the other house had a proposal coming off of this shoreline that we're all talking about now. When properties are in common ownership, we try to minimize impact, and we wanted them to put a shared facility on the property line. We were very much encouraging the applicant to do that. during the course of 2024, that lot that's on that western side sold. It is no longer in common ownership. So the applicant relocated the facility from that lot 101, that undeveloped lot that they do own, relocated it to the south side lot that is where the dwelling is located.
Lot 110.
Correct.
Okay. Is there any agreement or understanding about common usage of this dock between the two now unrelated parcels?
I am unaware of that. I believe.
Yeah, I guess this is for the applicant.
Not to my knowledge, but it isn't something that we would not consider. We would consider if it was possible.
Has anybody built a house on the vacant lot yet?
No,
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was just curious.
Any other questions from the council at this time? Anything else at this time, Attorney Craven?
not at this time, but I'm potentially aware of some testimony that may come forward from a previous proceeding in the town. And I remain, I'd like to reserve the right to have my expert come back and testify if that be the case.
Okay.
Otherwise, thank you for your time.
All right. Is there anyone here this evening else that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Okay. Anyone present this evening that wishes to speak in opposition of the application?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we didn't have a sign up sheet, correct?
For a minute. We'll get them every time they come up.
Oh, no, yeah, I understand. All right, so what we'll do is we'll start in the front row here, go across, we're gonna zigzag like that. Unless someone wants to trade spots, because I see you standing up.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So my name is Sean Hensler. I'm a retired.
Sir,
JAG.
sir, please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God.
I do.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Sean Hensler, S-E-A-N, last name H-E-N-S-E-L-E-R.
Thank you.
So I'm a retired Navy JAG, but I'm not here as an attorney. I'm a resident of the neighborhood. I have been for several years. I guess to start, I'd like to clarify some of the facts. There is a house that already is on that piece of property that you just mentioned. In terms of trying to get some type of mental picture of what this is going to look like, this is the mental picture. I'm happy to give this to you, Kevin, and the rest of the group here. But basically, you have a piece of property here that abuts the beach. If you go out 130 feet, it's basically going to take up about 25% of the beach in terms of the ability to use this area of the beach, which is constantly used by swimmers, floaters, clammers, etc. Okay. If you did the same thing at the North Kingstown Town Beach, relatively speaking, proportionally, the dock would come out that far from the abutting property. You can imagine the town would be completely up in arms if that were to be the case. We took our objections to this to the town council, who unanimously voted against this, as did the Coastal Resources, the Harbor Commission. At the end of the day, the mission of this council, on your website is the primary responsibility is the preservation, protection, and development of coastal areas. And you do that by balancing tests. It's a balancing test. The economic considerations, here are the economic considerations of the one, balanced against the environmental protection and quite frankly, the desires of the many, which you'll hear here in a moment. 18 inches, the mooring field for this facility is well outside the dock. There's a reason the mooring field is well outside the dock. That's for the safety of boats and for the safety of navigation and for the safety of the swimmers and the floaters and the rafters that all use this part of the beach. Everybody in our neighborhood that has a boat uses a mooring. If somebody wants to be in our neighborhood and wants to use a boat, the obvious answer is use the mooring, because the dock is going to interfere with not only the enjoyment of the beach by swimmers and be a hazard. Can you imagine boats having to come in there, jet skis having to come in there, where the swimmers, where the floaters, where the clammers are to get in and out? And anybody who's been to this beach, and I don't know if the staff had a chance to actually go to the beach, you're talking about up to your knees. You know, at low tide, it's not even up to your knees. So your question, Kevin, was spot on. This boat is not going to be usable. This place will not be usable for the bulk of the time, depending upon the high tides, those limited windows and high tides. So again, the natural answer would be if you're going to do a balancing test between the interest of the neighborhood, which you're going to hear here in a minute, the interest of the town council that unanimously voted in opposition to this, as opposed to the interest of one individual who is coming, and basically an investor bought two pieces of property. An out-of-state investor bought two pieces of property, has already sold the one piece of property, and now wants to take this other piece of property and basically put a dock so that it arguably would increase the property value of the home. The obvious answer is in a balancing test, use a mooring. I'll stop there because you're going to hear many, many things from others about the impact. But I can tell you that this beach is the hub of this neighborhood. Hundreds of people are at this beach every day in the summer, every day in the summer. And when it's not the summertime, it's the hub of activity where people walk their dogs and meet. And it's the hub of our neighborhood. That's why we have the Lone Tree Point Beach Association. We clean it during the summer months. You'll see kayaks. You know, it's just, again, the idea that one person can come in and upset the balance of the entire town or the entire neighborhood because they want to have a boat seems to me, again, if you come back to the balancing test, that I would hope that this committee uses, and not just what the letter of the laws would say X. Well, you don't have to grant the variance. You know? And so if you do a balancing test, I would argue that it clearly is in favor of not putting in this dock. I'll stop there unless you have any questions for me.
Any questions of?
I would like to put one more thing in the record. I reached out to our state representatives this weekend to ask them if they would be willing to come here and say a word on our behalf. They directed me to our state senator, Mr. Craven, who I find it interesting is actually representing the individual who wants to put the dock in. So I just, they referred us to Mr. Craven, and we didn't get a response, obviously, because he's representing the other individual. I didn't know that beforehand. I'm not saying it's a conflict of interest. He has every right to represent a client. Well, I think he has it, but it's just ironic.
Any questions of the general, Dr. Ruder?
Two questions. First off, you referenced the mooring field right off the shore there. How is that accessed by the boat owners?
So there's dinghies ashore, or people swim out or they kayak.
Where do they store their dinghies?
Right on the beach.
Right on
The
beach.
whole beach. This whole beach is covered in the summertime by, rafts, dinghies, and kayaks.
So boats.
Well, we kayak out there.
The kayak a boat?
What's that?
Kayak's a boat, correct?
It is a
That
boat.
was my second question.
Yeah,
Kayak's a
and
boat. So you're saying that you can go out in a kayak,
Yes,
but you can't go out in a powerboat right there?
absolutely. None of us take the power boats.
So
In fact, the harbor master will come in. If you come inside the mooring field with your boat, the harbor master will come in and he will eject you.
is that signed? Is that properly buoyed or in that area?
I don't know, sign.
Is there a buoy out in that area that says no motors in this area?
Not to my knowledge. No.
Does anybody have a motor on their vessel or ever use a motor to get out to their vessel?
No.
It's usually like.
But it's not prohibited though.
I'm not to my knowledge. So, but I think that's different, Doctor. Taking a kayak out at low speeds where you can see everybody around you. Have you ever taken a boat into 4 feet of water, 3 feet of
I
water?
do it every day.
You do it every
I
day.
just
Among
think so.
swimmers and rafters?
Yes.
Really? Where's that?
Barrington.
Okay. No, it's not my job to ask questions, but.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Excellent. Excellent job.
So please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Chris Mulhern, CHRISMULHEARN.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Mulhern and I live on Earle Drive. Thanks for letting me speak here tonight. My family and I use this beach every single day in the summer, and we're never alone there. Our little beach is the focal point of our coastal community on Earle Drive. Every day you'll see folks of all ages enjoying this rare treat, a sandy beach on Narragansett Bay. This past year, my son and his friends spent their days learning to swim and kayak and respect the water in this remarkably special, safe space. The introduction of a dock in this location and the associated boat traffic would fundamentally alter the manner in which we enjoy this beach. We'll be looking over our shoulder, we'll be uprooting our anchored paddle boards and shuffling out of the way in our inner tubes, worrying about our children getting hit by a boat. This is no exaggeration, this is a small beach. And like boating is also an important part of enjoying the bay, right? I'm a lifelong sailor. And I moved here in large part because of that. Guess where I keep my sailboat? In the deep water mooring field that's right there beyond this beach. As a boater, I just can't imagine inflicting this much damage on this special community resource just to save myself a 30-second dinghy ride to the mooring field. Now, from the CRMC website, you find this description about your mission, coordinated long-range planning and management designed to produce the maximum benefit for society from coastal resources. Okay, so really what delivers the maximum benefit for society? Preserving this safe swim area that an entire neighborhood's summer life revolves around, or allowing this one person to build a dock. You know, I don't want to get in anyone's way. I don't want to rain on anyone's parade. I really don't. I don't like conflict. I'd love for both of these goals to be compatible, the dock and the safe beach. But they're not. That dock and the associated boat traffic will make this beach significantly more dangerous. And that's precisely why. That's the reason why all the previous assessments of this proposal made by the Harbor Commission and the Town Council unanimously recommended not moving forward with it. You know, producing the maximum benefit for society from coastal resources sounds like a numbers game. And look at the number of concerned folks who showed up here tonight to protect their coastal resource. Please, please do not do permanent harm to this community's beach for one person's dock, please. Thank you for your time.
Any questions of Mr. Mulhern? All right, thank you, sir. Oh, it's heard you in the front row. Yeah, I said we were gonna start there, but then the gentleman behind you went, so yeah, you come up if you wish to speak.
Sir, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
My last name is Monroe, M-U-N-R-O, first name Lincoln.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'm a 37-year resident of Lone Tree Point. It's not a beach club. It's a resident association that owns the property around the beach itself. The beach is a resource to this community and to anyone else who has access to that surrounding it. So the area has traditionally been a breeding ground for crustaceans, for bivalves, for finfish. That's been compromised over the years enough already by climate change issues that have changed the green crabs that have been murderous. We have a robust group of horseshoe crabs that come in every year. The kids in the neighborhood, especially, and the adults who are new to the neighborhood, are very conservation conscious, and the kids are learning about wildlife and the importance of preserving them for whatever reasons are appropriate. Kids have taken their, we have 4 kids who are now in their 50s, and 11 grandchildren who visit us often and find this opportunity to come visit a distinct pleasure in their lives, because for them, it's a learning experience that they relish. Preserving that is critical, not just in terms of things I mentioned, but also the safety issues. It's not just kayaks, it's floaties, inner tubes. People who swim with these little pontoon things behind them in order to make sure that they're
given alertness to anybody who might be with a kayak even, who might collide with them. People are very conscious about safety, about the environment, and it's something that is a natural cultural to the whole neighborhood. It's a culture that has never needed to be monitored or governed, because we do it ourselves. People have come into our neighborhood over time and they've just fit right in and assimilated to this culture. The concept of building this dock is a gross violation of our culture and the purposes that our culture stands by and stands for.
Any questions of Mr. Monroe? All right, thank you, sir.
You.
We can stay in that row.
Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Jim Ream, Roehm. I reside at 17 Russell Drive in North Kingstown. I am a 26-year resident of North Kingstown. I want to thank the council for their time, their efforts, their reading of many, many things. I do want to point out points that have not been significantly made just yet. In addition to the town council and the Harbor Commission of North Kingstown, the Conservation Commission has also issued a no confidence statement regarding the proposal. I would remind this council that this is the third iteration of a dock proposal, one into the bay, one into the swimming area, and now a revised one into the swimming area. The previous two have been denied, and you hear the testimony of other people, other neighbors. Yes, you folks know the law. You know the requirements. I would ask you to look beyond those to the neighborhood objections. We are rising up as one regarding the petitioner's the dock. It is into the swimming area. It is only usable during moments of high tide. It is just not a well thought out proposal, despite what the engineers have said. So boat traffic, the last point I want to make is boat traffic is a safety risk in that particular area. It is simply too close to the beach. And I ask you to take into consideration what the neighborhood is saying. With that, questions, comments?
Any questions of Mr. Ream? No, thank you, sir.
Again, thank you.
Next, anyone else?
Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and spell it for the record, please.
Name's Josette Monroe, Munro, JOSET, since most people are familiar with it. I'm also a 37-year resident of Lone Tree Point. I would like to add 3 safety concerns, and then I also have 2 questions. My safety concern is that the tide, when it moves along the shore, it moves in the direction of toward this dock, away at one end of the beach. It just naturally, if you're in a float or even if you're floating, it naturally moves in the direction of the dock. So my concern is kids on floaties are just going to naturally slam into the dock, and will that create a problem? The second is my experience of children and grandchildren is that kids swim underwater, particularly when they're young, and then they pop up. And that is a danger. We as a community are watchful of children for that reason. And when we know young children are swimming and swimming underwater, we watch for them and we watch for anyone coming near them because we know they could pop up in any minute. And I'm concerned about a concussion happening with a boat coming in, unfamiliar person from the neighborhood. So that would be in addition. I have two questions. One is for, is it Ms. Silva?
Actually, ma'am, could you please direct your questions to the chair?
Okay, I have a
Then
question.
There'll be a determination if they're appropriate, and then we'll go from there. Okay?
That's good. Okay, I have a question for Ms. Silva. Is it appropriate to ask you, to ask her?
You can ask the question.
Okay. She's referred to staff when she gave her report. So I would like to know who the other people are.
Are you able to answer that?
Yes, myself and Peter O'Rourke were the two biologists on it with Richard Lucia as the engineer.
Okay.
Are those people connected to CRMC or what?
The staff members at CRMC, at our
Okay.
CRMC office.
All right, I didn't know.
Mhm.
It's helpful to have that information.
Yeah.
And the other question I have is for our state rep. I would like to know if he thinks it's a conflict of interest to be our state rep and representing someone who's in conflict with our needs and rights.
That's not an appropriate question for the proceeding this evening.
Okay, so legally, it's not a conflict of interest.
I'm not answering that. It's not appropriate to
Yeah, that-
us and
Ma'am.
Yeah.
The council has an application and they make a determination on the application. That's an ancillary issue that really should be directed somewhere else, but not here. Who the attorney is not part of the consideration.
Mhm.
What will be a focus of the consideration is the testimony that they're gonna get today from everybody coming in, staff report and other questions. That issue, that goes somewhere else.
Where? Oh,
I
okay.
can't give legal
Oh.
advice to anybody but these people over here. Then you know what? If I gave you advice, then later on, I could get sued. I'm not, you can't have that happen, okay?
All right, I can track
Thank you.
that down.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
Any questions of Ms. Monroe? Thank you. Is there a next speaker?
Hi, my name is Barbara Guido. I live at 196 Earle Drive.
Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I
So help you God?
got.
Please state your name and spell it for the record. Thank you.
Okay, Barbara Guido, 196 Earle Drive.
Spell your last name, please.
Perito.
I'm sorry, what?
Perito.
Thank you.
Okay, I have many things written down, but so far, a lot of them have been covered. But I have one thing. We all have had teenagers. They love to boat and they love to boat fast. Who's gonna stop the teenager coming into our area to use that dock? And all these little kids are in the water. How fast can the parents get to them? That's my question. And a really big, I wish all of you could have an opportunity to go see how big this little beach is. And you're gonna take 25%, or what did he say? I don't know what he said, by this dock coming out in the water. We already have 2 docks. Fortunately, it's a horseshoe piece of property. And both docks are out facing more to the water. And then the other one is just at the tip where the horseshoe ends. So those really have no effect on us. But this will, a very serious effect. I mean, I've been here since 1985. And everybody is just so happy at this place. You have to visit it. It's like a piece of heaven. So that's a really big concern. Another concern I have is this person What is she doing it for? Money? And is that what this is all about, money? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Florido?
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Sir, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Please state your name and spell it for the record.
It's Chris Fulham. It's Fullam. So I'm gonna try not to repeat things that you've already heard. But I do want to share an additional perspective for somebody who has been doing a lot of boating. So I've owned a boater's license for almost 60 years. I've owned about 40 power boats, not to mention numerous kayaks and sailboats. And at a high level, I'm just really shocked that we're even entertaining this whole conversation. Because if you actually were at the beach and you can see the beach area and you see where the dock goes, it's clearly a safety problem. And a couple of reasons why I say that is because you can't control what boat is going to be at the dock, right? Who knows what size it is? Maybe, it'll be a small boat for this first year, but the house will turn over, any boat can go in there. And I know 18 inches isn't a lot of water, but you'd be surprised. I have a 34-foot boat that can go in 18 inches of water. So, that's a problem. And there really is a big difference. There was a discussion about the kayaks going out and the dinghies going out to the mooring field versus a power boat. There's a big difference there. If there's swimmers around and you're paddling in a little kayak and you maybe bump the swimmer, nothing's going to happen. The water is going to be very near. But with a power boat, you may miss somebody swimming. A propeller could cause significant safety trouble. And going back to the point of, we don't know what size boat is going to be there. You don't know who those boaters are, right? Maybe that house will get rented. There'll be renters coming in there. Jet skis, it's a huge, huge problem. And and I guess the other point I wanted to make there is that to get to the dock, you really do have to maneuver through the swimming area. So it's, if the dock were at the very end of the peninsula, nowhere near the swimming area, then it would make sense. It wouldn't be a big deal. But because of the fact that it is going into the swimming area, that's what's causing all the problem. I think I will reiterate this one thing because I think it's really the net of the whole thing. If you approve this, you're going to significantly impact the 70 or so homeowners who use this beach and bought homes in this area and enjoy it, all for the benefit of one homeowner who doesn't even live there year round. So to me, this is really a no-brainer. And that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Fulham?
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to come forward?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Houle.
I'm gonna be fast because I don't have anything additional to say, but I just wanted to come up and tell you guys I greatly oppose this for all the reasons all of my neighbors have already mentioned. I grew up in this neighborhood. I learned to swim at this beach. I raised my kids in this neighborhood, and I definitely feel like just because you can doesn't mean you have to, or that you should approve this. It's gonna really impact everybody in our neighborhood, with the exception of one person. That's all I have to say.
Any questions of Ms. Houle? Thank you.
Sir, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
My name is Bradley Kettlety. I'm Bradley, Bradley. Last name Kettlety, Kettlety. Thank you all for what you do here as the committee. We at Lone Tree Point Beach Association also have a committee. We meet every quarter and we are voted on. We have a board. I'm the treasurer of the board. Everyone's voted on. We meet and we discuss things that are important like you guys do here. Not as important as this, obviously, but I just want to prove that we are, you know, we have a vested interest in the beach. If we don't own it, the association owns a part of it. There are 80 homes that we go to, we get $125 donation or of dues to do cleanups around the neighborhood and on the beach. Every year, Earth Day, today's Earth Day, happy birthday everybody. We meet about 20, 30 people, go to the beach, we clean up all the debris, anything washed up. We meet every winter on New Year's Day for a polar plunge where I think this year was like 100 people maybe or more that came and just were on the beach and ran in the water. I didn't, because that's crazy. But that's, you know, we're having our annual meeting every June where the whole neighborhood comes. We discuss things that are important to the neighborhood. We decide on things together as a community. It's not a beach club. I know the semantics, but it's an association. It was founded in 1950-ish, and we file corporate filings with the state of Rhode Island. We file IRS returns. Everything's, legal to the book, and it's just a testament to how much we care about this community, about this beach. My backyard is about 400 square foot. So the beach is my backyard. I have 3 boys. There's Aaron next to me also has 3 boys. A point people are making is the safety of a boat coming in. My concern is my kids are going to climb up on that dock and they're going to jump off when it's 18 inches and they are going to get hurt. And yeah, I can say, don't go on that. But everyone, has anyone ever committed a crime before? Yes. So this is going to happen. People are going to mess with that dock. I think there's a term, attractive nuisance, which is huge, something you really need to consider, especially if you are a board and you approve this. I don't know if that's something that, a question to the legal counsel, if you'd be responsible for that, if you did approve on this and someone did end up getting hurt on that, that would be tragic because it is used a lot. I don't know, do you want to see videos of my children walking out at low tide just 4 days ago to see how shallow it is there? I have that if you'd like to see it. Excuse me. Another thing is the horseshoe crabs, and at some point someone was mentioning that you would deny it because there is horseshoe crabs. They are there. They come every end of May, June, and they mate. I literally my kids talk about sex using the horseshoe crab. Like they mate. This is what sex is. Literally. So it's important. It's part of our lives. It's education. This beach educates our community. It's part of us, who we are. I think that's it. Here's our budget. We collect money and we have $8,000 to $10,000 a year that we spend on property taxes, on insurances, on things. We have a vested interest in what happens there. So I just don't want you to take that lightly.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do. A few questions. I want to get a better picture in my own mind as to what the water is like in this area. And by that, I mean the depth of the water. It sounds like, at least shoreward, the water is relatively shallow all the time.
Yes, at low tide, you can walk out to the mooring. I could walk out to the moorings and it'd be up to here.
Okay.
And it goes out, I don't, you'd have the research there, how far it goes out, but at low tide, it's significantly low for a long period of time.
I think
And especially in the corner where the dock would be going.
I think the mooring is what, like 155 feet from shore?
It depends on what shore you're measuring from this shoreline.
It always does.
It's so the facility would be 130 plus 55.7.
So
From
180.
the location of the dock, but
Yeah.
not from the beach.
Okay.
I'm not sure how far it is from the beach.
Say 200. So you can walk out to the mooring.
At a low.
The edge of the mooring at low tide.
Mm-hmm.
And what about high tide? I mean, is it?
High tide, you
significantly
can go
higher?
probably like 15 feet out and it's up here, yeah.
Probably a
It's about
4 foot tide.
Yeah.
And there was a graphic that was submitted, and it was part of a prior iteration of this doc, and part of a private application that referenced a navigation corridor, which seems to be
think that
between the
was-
beach and.
That was the other side possibly, right? That was the old.
It's an old application.
That's the other side. That's the Duck Cove side on the west side of Earle Drive.
It is, okay. So this has nothing to do with. what we're talking about. All right, yeah, well, that clarifies that. And how far out do people swim?
My kids will go into the mooring field that now that, you know, my oldest is 14 and a neighbor is 15. They'll take their paddle boards and they'll go out all the way and they'll throw a little anchor down and they'll dive off and on it. So they're, you know, most of the kids just play. I mean, at low tide, they go out there now because they want to jump off and have some depth what they're playing, how they're playing. They want to jump and splash and eventually climb up on a dock and jump off that dock because that's what they want to do. So that's fun and exciting. And if it'll just feel like it's part of our beach and they're just gonna want to take part in it. And people from all over come to it's not our beach, come to the beach and enjoy it. And we have any control of what they do either. I also should mention, I forgot that on every 4th of July, we have hundreds, I mean, like 300 or 400 people flood into the neighborhood to watch the fireworks from the North Kingstown firework display, and they all just come from everywhere. So it's just not just our neighborhood that will be affected. There's a lot of people that come and can interact with the stock.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Kettlety? Thank you, sir.
Sir, please raise your right hand and state, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and spell it for the record, please.
Aaron Ritter, RITTER, I own the property at 180 Earle Drive and 14 Russell on the corner. I have 3 boys, 15, 13 and 10, and everything's been said here tonight. I greatly respect your time and I respect the people here that are trying to do what they do. And I think like there's some confusion here that I wanted to at least make sure for everyone's on the same page that this could be submitted, because this is what we're talking about here. There seems to be some confusion in that regard. We are an association and we pay our dues. Everybody does what they do, but when it comes down to it, we have bylaws in this neighborhood that people are supposed to follow. And, you know, what we as an association and neighbors as a community expect people to do the right thing. Like, that's what the bylaws are for. We can't like enforce people to do certain things. The beach is public. It's a public beach. We have a parking lot that's there that we control. We have parking passes. Every kayak has a pass that people pay for. That money goes to things for our association. And at the end of the day, you know, no one's talked about my wife, Jennifer Ritter. She has an objection. She's a marine biologist. She's a master's degree in aquaculture. She sent in one of the objections, and just what we're talking about with the flora and fauna of the area, what we're gonna do to, if we're protecting the environment and what are there with the decline of shellfish and everything else, like what that is gonna do to construction and what it's gonna, the debris in the water and what it's doing. You know, I understand everybody wants what they want in life, but this is like something that isn't, it's just not a right thing to do. So many people have come here to say things and other people couldn't make it for all kinds of various reasons, but I like to think that people want to treat each other with respect. You know, and I try to do that. I'm an independent subcontractor, a general contractor, and I treat people the way that I would want to be treated. And for someone to come in and just be putting something in because of what they want without any concern of neighbors, what's their children. I have 3 boys. They all learned how to swim there. And they go out very far, way past, you know, there's not boats that, there's paddle boards and like someone said, floaties, and 2-year-old little girls are out there floating and learning how to swim. And to have this going on, it's just, I really, really hope things are done. You guys make the right decision, and I respect your time. And that's it for me. Can I give this to someone, please? But there's no confusion, because there seems like there's confusion from the gentleman here.
There's a deadline to submit, which was last week.
Okay, so I can't.
You can't.
Okay, so when the deadline was met, was everyone, it doesn't, I just have confusion because it doesn't seem like everybody's on the same page or what, because this person's applied 3 different times and it doesn't seem like everyone's on the same page. So the decision's making tonight, I just don't understand it. But thank you for your time.
Any questions of Mr. Ritter?
All right.
That's okay. All set. Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak on the application? Come forward.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please state your name and spell it for the record.
Gary Robertson, ROBBERSON.
Thank you.
I live at 130 Earle. What really makes this dock proposal very challenging is generally a dock is perpendicular to the beach. There's the beach, the dock goes out like this. In this particular case, it's almost more parallel to the beach. So here we are with the very small beach to begin with, and a pretty massive structure. And I'll give you the angle. This is right here is the beach. This dock is right here. It's literally right out in front of the beach, and that's what makes it so really so terrible. Hey, you know, my heart goes out to the owners. You know, they have a piece of property they like to put in a dock. I can understand that, but sadly, this just was not the piece of property if that was your plan. There's no water. It makes no sense. Just right offshore is a beautiful mooring field, great gas. Common sense tells you for a few dollars, I have a mooring, it's $175 a year. And I have great water, and I have a little John boat, and within a couple of paddles, I'm in my boat and I'm off. It's just beautiful. Now, the real tragedy is this dock is in where all the little kids are. This area is the shallow part of the dock, the shallow part of the beach. Zillions of kids, and I mean a lot of them, are jumping up and down and playing right where this dock is going to be and where this boat is going to have to drive through. Being a boat owner all my life, it is difficult to see swimmers, even if they have their little balls that they tow around when they swim. Very challenging. Now you throw a little glare and a few waves into it, it can be impossible. So I just, you know, it's frightening. You know, my wife and I, sadly, we've lost a child. We know what that feels like. It's horrible. I would hate to see
a fatality for something like this that makes absolutely no sense. I don't care how you twist it, how you turn it, it makes no sense. Why do we want to put the jeopardy of our children and grandchildren? Oh yeah, by the way, let's say this thing goes to Airbnb and now we got kids running around at 50-mile-an-hour wave jammers flying it, because we've had that problem in this neighborhood already. Okay, a lot of stuff is being Airbnb now. We've got all kinds of stuff going on that we've never had to deal with before. Why do we want to continue on that path? I just think common sense has to take over in the safety of our grandchildren and our kids. Look at how this huge dock is literally blocking and cutting off a good portion of our beach. It's terrible.
Anything else, sir?
That is it.
Any questions of Mr. Robinson? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you for all you do.
Any other speakers? Seeing none, Attorney Craven. Can return, yes?
In case I want to ask my engineer, Kenny Anderson, a couple of questions. There was testimony by the objectors where they indicated that you could not reach this dock or leave this dock without going through the swimming area. You had an opportunity to go out and examine this area, and also you have the maps. Is that the case from your engineering perspective as to the location and the use of this dock?
That's not the case. If you consider this, the swimming area, the shoreline area.
Yep.
The mooring field is seaward of the terminus of this dock by 55 feet. However, the mooring field 13, the piece that Ms. Rossetti's dock is 55 feet away from is the side of the mooring field. If you think of the mooring field as a rectangle, the other side of the rectangle goes along the beach at the association representing that they swim from, and it's located 100 feet from the mean high water mark all along the beach area. So they're talking about how shallow the water is. If you walk out 100 feet from the beach area, perpendicular, straight east, you're into the mooring field within 100 feet of the high tide line. And as the water depth at low tide at the perimeter of that mooring field right off the swim area is only a foot deep at low tide. And it runs all along Earle Drive, 100 feet offshore. And it's only a foot deep at low tide, which means they're swimming in the mooring field. And Ms. Rossetti's dock is cited not correct.
Let him finish, please.
If you look on the harbor management plan, delineation mooring area 13, you'll see that it's 100 feet off of the land that you're all claiming that you are swimming off of. So you're in the mooring field.
No, that's not. Let's not have discussions. Ken, talk to us. Talk to us.
So basically, the harbor master would regulate this activity, and there should be buoys that they should disallow swimming in the mooring field, as most towns do. They don't allow swimming in mooring fields. However, understanding that the water is not deep enough for more boats at this shallow side of the mooring field, they could allow the swimming, obviously, but the dock does not impact the mooring field and or the swimming area because it's north of.
Please stop talking In the back,
north of the mooring field,
please.
and it's outside of the mooring field, and you can access navigable waters from the dock without even going into the mooring field. You can go north of the mooring field and skirt the north side of the mooring field and go around Lone Tree Point into navigable waters without going into the mooring field.
Sure. You had a comment in reference to the map that was discussed by member Steve Izzy before.
Yes, sir. And also to clarify Mr. Flynn's comments about the convergence of the property line extensions, which are, as Amy pointed out in her staff report, are a function of the curvature of the shoreline. So the shoreline's not linear. So the lines either diverge or converge. In this case, they converge into this point, whereby sort of locking in this Rosetti's access to state waters, navigable waters, waters of the federal waters, which is the need for the variance. But the dock was cited 26 feet, basically in compliance with the standard 25-foot offset from one of the property lines to minimize the variances to just one. So the dock was situated closer to the property line that didn't have the potential for a boating facility in the future. What that represented as the Lone Tree Point Association, because there is a buildable lot on the other side. So Ms. Rossetti, Mr. Hall cited the facility to be in compliance with that offset and only seek the variance from the one side. And lastly, if you look at the town GIS database, there's no lot there's no taxable lot that's represented here this evening as the Lone Tree Point Association. The town's plat map shows mean high water coming up to Earle Road or Earle Drive, and that they're basically representing that everything seaward of the road is below mean high water as indicated by that dash, the heavy dash line. There's no lot number here and there's no taxable lot. So the lot that they're swimming off, which is a beach, but it's not a taxable lot and it's not owned by anyone.
Yeah.
Well, it's not represented on the town plat map, so it doesn't indicate that there's anything there.
You had an opportunity to review this file that you inherited from Mr. Hall. Did you review the previous applications that were made to CRMC for this document?
Yes, I did.
And did you come to a conclusion as to whether those previous applications or iterations of this application, were they denied or were they withdrawn by the applicant?
They were withdrawn. They were never heard by the council. They were withdrawn, and at staff suggestion, it was relocated to a more plausible location, which is the one before you now.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chair. Ken's available if members have any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Anderson from the council?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I have a question of Amy, please. You opened up the hearing with your review, taking into consideration your review of the file, your handling of the file, and that you gave certain opinions as it relates to the application. After that, we had the applicant and their attorney speak. We had 11 witnesses speak in opposition on many different opinions and theories, questions. Has any of that changed your opinion as it relates to quote you, that it was your opinion that the objections did not rise to a substantive level and that there was no objection to approval? on the application.
It is still my opinion that the objections do not rise to a substantive objection because the criteria in section 1.1.6G are very specific. There is no loss of property from the objectors due to this proposal. The second being that the application does not meet the regulations. The applicant has requested the variances and staff supports the variances, which would then make it meet the regulations. And the third criteria is that there are no substantial environmental impacts expected. So it remains my opinion that the objections do not meet the section 1.1.6G substantive objection criteria. The second part of your question was whether or not the recommendation changed. There's a detailed analysis of all of the objections within the staff report that I did not get into in the introduction. Those review opinions remain the same and the staff recommendation remains the same.
Okay. And you did indicate that in this type of water, a dock is acceptable and a permittable use, correct?
Correct, and the criteria for that are in the conclusion section of the staff report.
Okay. Any questions of Amy from the council? Yes, Mr. Flynn.
I'm not sure how to phrase this question, but obviously the applicant is trying to minimize the type of variances necessary in order to build a dock. In doing that, is the possibility that it does not minimize the potential impacts to the surrounding property. In other words, to do one thing, trying to minimize variances might be the wrong word, but might increase the potential conflict with other uses. Do you understand my question?
I do understand the question. I think that one could say that to some extent. If the applicant had cited the facility further to the east towards house number 353, which can't really be seen very well on the snippet that is in my staff report, but can be seen quite clearly on the submitted plans, which are page 11 of your agenda package. It's the lot. It sort of looks like it's to the north, but it's to the west. That is an individual residential lot who also has their own ability to request a facility. So the applicant could have cited this proposed dock crossing their property line, which potentially would have negatively impacted the right of that lot to request their own facility. I cannot speak for the applicant. They did state that they wanted to have one property line variance versus two property line variances. There's no way to cite a facility here without crossing one of these two property lines. You simply cannot place a facility that meets any of our regulations within that pie shape that is formed by the curvature of the lot.
But the property line it's crossing is a public property line. And the other
is a
direction would be a private property line.
Correct, and it is all public trust resource. It is all ours as the state of Rhode Island. It appears as though they were trying to minimize the impact to an abutter who also has the same right. I can't speak for them. Moving it to the east to minimize that 26-foot difference to a 1 foot difference, to 1 foot off that property line. It will reduce the amount that the facility would cross the property line accordingly. It's still going to cross that property line somewhat.
And that's a lot that was just sold.
Yes, at some point during the course of 2024.
and remains undeveloped.
No, it is developed. There's a home there and they could ask for it. The undeveloped lot is the lot on the east side of Earle Drive, lot 101.
Any further questions of Amy from the council?
Mr. Chairman, I wish to raise a point of order. Jim Ream.
I love it.
What's the point of order?
The point of order is the council allows a rebuttal of the objections. Will the objectors have a chance to rebut the rebuttal?
No.
No. Answer it.
Well, I'm gonna answer it. Because then if, there's a rebuttal, because they made their presentation, then public had a chance to speak. And then the rules allow for the rebuttal. If there's a rebuttal to the rebuttal, then the applicant gets a chance to rebut again. And this could go on all night. So what happens is you've had a chance to speak, they presented their case, they did some rebuttal, and now we're the council's about ready to vote on it. So your point of order, no.
Thank you. Any other questions of Amy from the council? Is the council in a posture for a motion? No? Where do we go from here?
There is no one is in a position to make a motion on this either way.
All right, I'll make a motion to deny the application. Based on the conflicts that have been pointed out by the testimony referred tonight, based on the geometry difficulty of this site to get a dock facility out to navigable waters. I'll make that motion.
If I may, under section 1.1.7, are you also focusing on that standard that relates to conflict with existing uses?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that the record's clear.
I'm glad you brought that up.
A motion has been made to deny the application by Councilmember Flynn. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Izzy. Is there any discussion?
Yeah. I would just like to point out that I think the staff did an incredible job. And seeing that the applicant met the burden of proof for the two variances that were requested. And I have never voted against staff recommendation, but I think the testimony tonight was overwhelming in a lot of different areas concerning safety, navigation, habitat, impact, public access, lateral access. And for those reasons, I'll be voting in favor of the motion.
Any further discussion? So a vote of aye would be to deny the application. Mr. Flynn.
Aye.
Ms. Izzy.
Aye.
Mr. Brusolino.
Aye.
Dr. Ruder.
Nay.
Mr. Gagnon.
Nay.
I too vote no. The motion to deny is failed on a 3-3 vote. Are there any other further nominations at this time?
In other words, the motion would be to approve.
Is the council in motion, in a posture to make a motion to approve the application?
So moved.
Is the motion based upon the staff report in terms of findings of fact?
Yes.
I'll second.
A motion has been made by Dr. Reuter to approve the application, seconded by Mr. Gagnon. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. I'll poll the council. Mr. Flynn,
No.
Mr. Izzy,
No.
Mr. Russolino,
No.
Dr. Reuter,
Aye.
Mr. Gagnon.
Aye.
I too vote aye.
Well, the motion fails.
Mhm.
The motion to approve fails 3-3. So is it? What's that?
Well, this is like the Troiano case, so. That's it.
Okay,
The application doesn't pass.
No, it hasn't been denied.
it has not been denied.
Just like the Troiano case.
So where does it go?
Well, it's not, the application isn't approved. There's no
Right.
approval.
Yeah, it's kind of technical, as our attorney is saying, it hasn't been approved, it hasn't been denied.
But it hasn't been approved.
Right.
What does that mean? So is this allowed?
We can-
back to you again?
So we can have them withdraw and resubmit without prejudice, without prejudice, right?
Can I ask a question?
It goes without saying.
Yeah.
Ask a question.
Yes.
Since we're having trouble going one way or the other, is it possible that the staff could go back and take further, investigation into the issues that were raised tonight to alter, the application in any way to appease everybody or, I mean, because otherwise it's not going anywhere, correct?
Yeah, based on past cases, which I'm not going to get into. The applicant would really have to file another application, which they can do. And then staff would take a look at whatever else they come up with, if they want to do that.
Okay,
But this one just doesn't have the support.
all right. Having no further business to come before us this evening, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.